What we've got here today is a pair of Heathkit signal tracers. These are from the late 50s, early 60s. They were originally offered as kits, but you could buy them ready-made. Even the kit was pretty easy to put together, and a lot of them, that was half the fun, was you could build your own test equipment, and you could build your own. I mean, Heathkit offered everything. There was a lot more electronics, DIY stuff back then, because, you know, a lot of the cost is in the labor of assembly, so you could save some money by buying the kit. So these are both the model IT-12 signal tracer by Heathkit. And I've done these before where I take them apart and I rebuild them. And these guys make excellent little guitar amps. I mean, you could run anything through them really, but they make excellent guitar amps. Fun for playing around in a bedroom, sticking in front of a bigger amplifier, plugging in the headphones and just jamming out. Fun for recording. Man, these things are just great for all kinds of stuff. It's got this neat little built-in handle up top here. This thing's tiny. I mean, look at my hand compared to it. And my hand is fairly normal size. So this thing is smaller than a lunchbox. Pretty durable. The body here is, some of it's aluminum. I think the chassis, like this box, is aluminum. And then this face, I'm not exactly sure. Aluminum and steel is what most of this thing's gonna be made out of. It's got these little rubber feet. It's got a two-prong cord that's hardwired to it. It's got these little vent holes in the top and the bottom. And it's got these connectors that you would connect bare wire to. You know, you've got your two different speaker connections. Even though they're both red, it's like one would be a positive, one would be a negative. I mean, and I guess you could reverse it if you wanted it to play out of phase. But this is a built-in speaker in it. But that would be for an external speaker. And then it's got a switch here that you can turn the speaker on and off. The noise allows you to actually introduce broadband noise. It's just like a white or a pink noise. I've never actually listened to it, but I have read about it in the manual. So yeah, you can put noise there. That way you can inject noise into a circuit and see where it's at. And the speaker outputs here are on this side. The output transformer here, this would be on the primary. So you've got where the B positive, the high voltage, and where the plate goes. And then C is the center tap. This knob is obviously the volume knob. The way this circuit works is it has two triode preamp sections, and then it has a pentode power section. This volume control is in front of the whole circuit. When I make it into a guitar amp, it will be between the two triode circuits. So after the first stage, before the second stage. This is the on-off switch. When I modify this thing, I always move things around. I've done, I think, 3 of these now. This will be my 4th and 5th, I believe. Oh yeah, duh. This one, you're probably wondering, like, what is that fucking thing down there? Yeah, so down here you've got the Magic Eye. It's actually a tube that's in here sideways. And you'll see it when we take it apart. It glows green, and with a low signal, it's like a little cat's eye. And as the signal goes up, it gets brighter and brighter. It's really very cool. So I have 2 of these units here. And like I said, they're both model IT-12. If you're really good at detail, you may have noticed a few differences. This one looks like stock and it hasn't been messed with. This one has had a few mods done. Somebody had put this connector on the front here so that it was, instead of this hardwired setup, they also added this on-off light so that you could tell when it was on. You know, because these things were kits, they may not have ever even been modified, like where it was normal and then it was changed. That may just be how this guy decided to build it. I can almost guarantee that this connector, it's like the old audio high impedance connectors they'd have on old PA amps for like a low powered microphone. And yeah, I mean, connecting that to one of these tools wouldn't be any big deal. It's the same kind of high impedance device. So I'm going to take this thing apart and show you all the guts and everything. But just to give you an idea of my plan here, this will still be the volume control. The switches here, I'll have a speaker on off. I do like that function. And then noise will actually be a feedback switch. So the top here where it says speaker, one of them be a speaker output. And I'm going to have it wired so that when you plug in, like I'm going to put 1/4-inch jacks where these test things are, just in case you were wondering. If you would plug in an external speaker where that jack is, it'll be wired that it automatically switches this thing off. Down here, I will put a 1/4-inch jack to replace the bottom right one. That'll be a stereo 1/4-inch jack for headphones. And then where this guy is, I'll put another volume trim for the headphones, a separate trim for headphone out. And the headphone out, you'll be able to use for anything. Like you could run a pair of stereo headphones. You could also plug in a regular 1/4-inch unbalanced cable and run it to the input of another amplifier or to a recorder or a tape machine or an effects chain or whatever the heck you want. It'll be anywhere from headphone level to line level, depending on how you trim it out. All right. And then where this little high impedance connector is, there'll be another jack right there. And that's where I'll put the input, the 1/4-inch input, the high impedance input. That's actually the best place for it, for shielding and such. And when I'm done, this thing will be very cool because as you play guitar, it gets so overloaded on this thing. You'll see, it's very fun. The eye kind of makes this whole thing just really come alive. I did a video. If you look at some of my older videos, you can see that I had one of these that a friend of mine played. It's probably from like 2017 or something. I had painted it and redone it. Anyway, I sold that, and my roommate at the time, he had gotten to be fond of it. He was like, "Hey man, will you make one of those for me?" And I was like, "Sure, man." I was like, "Hey, look, there's an auction. Some guy's got 2 of them." And I think we got both of them together for like $160 or something, like $80 each. Now, I used to be able to get these things for $15, $20. And now I don't know if I've been a part of that because I have had finished designs on the internet now for, going back into like 2008 was probably when I built my first one. And I imagine a lot of people look at that and either decide to want to build their own or just buy it with that intention. And I'm not in the commercial business of modifying these regularly, so I will let out a little secret. The guys that buy Heathkit stuff are probably going to hate me, especially the guys that like to get it super cheap. But Heathkit like to use really good tubes. And a lot of times these signal tracers, they won't have a lot of miles on them. And like I said, this thing comes with a 12AX7 originally. And I wonder if you know where I'm going with this. I have found mullered 12AX7s in these before with like 80 to 85% of their life left. And, that's, if you were to buy those mullards brand new, they'd cost you a lot of money, well over the $80 each that I paid for these. Sometimes when you buy one of these things all either untested or just, from someone who got it from an estate sale and, you can kind of think that they don't know what they're doing. Sometimes you get a really nice mullard. I actually got a Telefunken 12AX7 in one before, and I don't think that Telefunken was original equipment for these guys. I know Mullard was for a little while. I've seen everything in these. When I got these two, one of them had no tubes, and the other one had what looked like the original power tube, which is 12CA5. It's a 12 volt, like 1.5 watt power tube. It absolutely does not have the kind of demand that a 12AX7 has, obviously. But it had a Russian or China, it was junk, whatever it was. It had a junk 12AX7. I did not score a Mullard this time, but I have gotten them before. I said, I think these are numbers 4 and 5. I mean, maybe I made another 6th one in there somewhere. I don't remember. Anyway, so yeah, these did not yield those, but I think that's part of why the value on these things is a lot more than they used to be, because people know. I mean, everybody watching this video knows now. You're going to go out and tell everybody and be like, "Oh my God, open up all your Heathkit test equipment. It might be holding on to some valuable 12AX7s." I mean, they're not making this stuff anymore, and an old Mullard 12AX7 might last you your whole life if you take good care of it. I mean, preamp tubes can get tons of miles. I think the Mullards were designed for like 10,000 hours. That's a lot of life. And when you listen to them side by side with this new garbage that the Chinese and Russians and even Slovakians put out, the Slovaki stuff is actually okay. The reason that new tubes, just even the best ones, just don't sound very good, it's metallurgy. This old stuff used rare earth metals, it used lead, it used special techniques for tempering the metal, and a lot of stuff they can't do anymore because it's poisonous, bad for the earth. Honestly, all that ROHS lead-free stuff, that stuff, look up tin whiskers. It sounds cute, doesn't it? But tin whiskers is a phenomenon that happens to metal that doesn't have lead in it when you run it as electronics for a long time. It essentially breaks down. It develops these whiskers that reach out and create shorts, and they know this stuff. And the whole idea is, oh yeah, well, it'll last for 5-10 years, and then it'll just essentially destroy itself from working. So, you wonder why your old router just all of a sudden just won't work, even though nothing has happened to it. You've just used it and it worked perfectly fine. And then one day it's just totally doesn't want to do shit. Well, you can probably guess what's going on there. Anyway, these old ones were made back in the old days of lead. This is part of why I like old gear. Like, I would rather build one of these into a guitar amp than buy all brand new parts. Even if the cost was the same. And generally the cost is cheaper. Like, I usually get a deal. My buddy was willing to pay for these, so I was like, go for it, man. Sometimes it's really hard to find. I think at the time we had found one that had sold for $100 and another one that had sold for more than $100. And so I was like, yeah, $80 each is going to be a deal. And then we got two, and we don't have to worry about it. Anyway, that was like 3 years ago. I am just now getting around to building these for him. I almost built these last summer, but I had to leave my shop and been kind of in between shops since then. This is the first time I've really been able to just sit and chill and shoot a video of this. Anyway, I know you've listened to me run my fucking mouth like blah, 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 blah. Let's crack these motherfuckers open and see what they look like. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to leave this one to the side. So when I got these, my deal with my buddy was, look, you pay for both of them and I'll make you one and I'll keep one. So I'm going to give him the one that I feel like is in better shape, which is this one. It does look like it's got a little bit of like smoker funk on the outside. I'll wind up cleaning it. Like, I don't know. It's hard to see the color difference. I don't know if it's based on their printing, and I'll tell as soon as I hit it with a swab and some alcohol. But this looks like it had a smoker, because it looks like it's got a little thin layer of nicotine, maybe a decade or two in the shop smoking. This one does not. But it's got the speaker poked in a little bit. And that speaker may need to be reconed or repaired or something. And this one's got all the stock stuff. And anyway, we'll see. Basically, I'm going to take this one apart first. Okay. My buddy will get the pick of the litter, and maybe I'll just make two of them slightly different and let him pick. That way there's no confusion. All right, guys, let's dig in.